Just sit with me for 2 seconds. Just imagine that you are 20 years old, 30, sometimes 40, sometimes even 50 years old. And you're in a meeting at work or at church or at school, and everyone else in the room is older than you are. You're the youngest person in the room. Everyone's speaking from their knowledge, from their education, from their wisdom about whatever the topic is. And you're sitting there thinking, with all the knowledge and wisdom in this room, none of you all make sense. Nobody has answers. You guys are just talking around in circles. Well, this is exactly what's happening with Elihu or Elihu. I don't know how you want to pronounce his name, but that's what it is. He's the youngest man. All of the friends have spoken, and Job has pleaded his case. We are in Job chapter 32. This is where things kind of take a turn. We didn't really know that this young man was sitting in the conversation, but he was there, and he was listening to what everybody had to say until he couldn't take it any longer. He decided that he was going to speak up, and he was mad because he's sitting there thinking, all of this knowledge and wisdom around me, and none of you all have answers. And Job, really? You're defending yourself against God Almighty? God says that if you sin, then this is what's going to happen to you. Like, I'm coming with a vengeance and I'm going to jack you all the way up. And you're sitting here trying to say that you're justified, that you are righteous, that you are holy, that you are living a life that you claim that you lived. He's mad because of all of the wisdom that these men should have. Nobody has answers for why Job is going through this thing, because Job is defending himself. It's crazy. And we go through that a lot in our lives because, as I said, we sit in church meetings, we sit at work meetings where we are the youngest person in the room or close to the youngest person in the room. And with all of the wisdom and knowledge and education that these people have, nobody has answers. Are you serious? It happens in church all the time. The bishops and the elders and the saints and the friends, you're sitting in Bible study and some young person asks a question and you can't answer it, or you answer around the question. What? I would be angry too. So welcome back to the Job Files, Faith Under Fire. We are back at it. So I got my notes. You already know how this works, so I don't miss anything. Here's the thing. Elihu speaks truth and ego at the same time. He's speaking the truth. Y'all don't have answers, but he's egotistical because he's like, I got the answers. Basically, I'm going to speak. I'm going to say what's on my mind and y'all finna hear it. He let them have it. Not in chapter 32 and chapter 33. But I'm going to let y'all have it. I'm done being silent. I'm done just not talking. I'm going to let you know how I feel and that's it. Period. That's what he said. And so get your notes, your pens, your paper so that you can write this stuff down. Number one, silence doesn't always mean agreement. What am I saying? Job's friends stopped talking at this point. Not because Job was right, but because they ran out of argument. They kept saying the same thing. All three of them were saying the same thing. It was a resounding, consistent theme of, this is theology. This is what it is. So you have to fall in this category. You have to fall in line right here. Plain and simple. That's it. I don't care what you say. This is it. And so the lesson here is, just because no one responds doesn't mean heaven agrees at all. Nobody responded. Heaven didn't say anything in regards to what his friends were saying, but that does not mean that heaven agrees with what these people were saying at all. Number two, youth has a voice, but not a license. This part is huge. Elihu believes his age disqualified him from speaking, yet his frustration boils over. He says, it's not only the old who are wise. Basically saying, like, I got some wisdom too, y'all. I know what I'm talking about. And he's right. But notice his tone. He's very arrogant with this thing. Truth spoken without humility still needs refining. You have to be humble while you're speaking, even though you know that you're right. In this case, we'll find out in 33. But if you know that you're right, you still have to speak with humility. You still have to be humble and not sit here and say, y'all wrong, I'm right, that's it. That's not what we do when we speak. Number 4, anger can masquerade as righteousness. Elihu was mad. He was mad because he didn't understand why these men who were supposed to be educated, who were supposed to have it all the answers, the wisdom, because they done lived longer than he has, could not come up with answers for why this was happening. Even though Job was responding by saying that, listen, I'm righteous, I'm living this life, and I don't care what y'all say. He is crazy. So Elihu is angry at Job for defending himself more than God, right? And the friends for failing to answer Job because they never had an answer for him. But anger doesn't automatically mean alignment with God. Just because he's mad doesn't mean he heard from God at all. Not at all. You can be angry and speak your whole point of view and not be in alignment with God. God ain't told you a word. Nothing. So being right doesn't excuse recklessness, right? He may be right too because he knew the theology. He knew all of these things, but that does not excuse him being reckless and being angry and just blasting and letting them have it, right? And so number 4, God gives wisdom, not age, okay? Age does not give you wisdom. God does. And so Elihu says something powerful and true. He says, the Spirit of God made me. And so that's true. The Spirit of God makes each and every one of us. Okay? Especially those who were called and have accepted the call that God has given them. God made you, not them, not yourselves, because 9 times out of 10, if God called you, you're running from it. You don't want to take it. You don't want it because you see what the other people who have been called by God go through, and you don't want to go through that. And so God made me, not me. So he's right with that. And wisdom comes from the Spirit of God, not seniority or credentials. Wisdom doesn't come just because you went to college. Wisdom doesn't come just because you went to seminary. Wisdom does not come just because you have done what you feel like you needed to do. You sat under the person and you learned from them and all that good stuff. No. Wisdom comes from God. Jesus. So the source matters, not the speaker. The source matters, not the speaker. The speaker can be 80 years old, but have not consulted the source. Meanwhile, a speaker can be 15 and got a word from the Lord. That part. So here's the thing, right? In chapter 32, it teaches us that you can have insight and still need maturity. Sweet Jesus. You can be used by God and still need pruning. And you can be bold and still be out of order. You can be speaking to where everybody's like, whoa, what'd she say? And still be out of order. So this chapter prepares us for discernment. And in our prayer time, we need to pray for discernment. Lord, give me a discerning spirit to know when it's you talking, when it's me talking. Give me discernment in knowing who that spirit is. I need to know the spirit by the spirit, period. Lord, just give me discernment in every situation of my life so that I know what's really happening and I'm not falling short and actually falling for any and everything that comes my way. So just because someone speaks confidently doesn't mean they're speaking clearly. Be mindful of what you're listening to on social media, including myself. Be mindful, because just because they're speaking and they're loud on social media does not mean they're speaking clearly and have heard from the Father. So here's some reflection questions. Are you more concerned with being heard or being right before God? Do you wait for wisdom or rush to release frustration? Can you recognize truth even when it comes wrapped in pride? People are prideful and they can still be telling the truth. Listen, can't wait to get to chapter 33 because it gets deep from here on out. I'll talk to you later and see you later for chapter 33. Be blessed.